He's Jordan Palmer, quarterback consultant to NFL college quarterbacks, founder of Thread Performance, former NFL quarterback, and the brother of Carson Palmer. I'm looking at some of your clients here, Jordan, and you have trained Josh Allen. You've trained Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, also Jordan Love. You also have had some training with in some capacity with Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, and Bo Nix. All right. That's a pretty impressive resume. If you were going to single out a commonality or a DNA characteristic out of these quarterbacks who are really, really good, is there one thing that all of those quarterbacks have?
Yeah, and to be honest, Dan, it's if I threw that question to you, people that are media moguls, not analysts and people who have jobs, but people like you who've changed the industry and been iconic, I bet it's the same thing. It's confidence. And it's unwavering, self-generated confidence, a belief that is independent of the environment. It doesn't matter if everybody says you're a bum. It doesn't matter if everybody's waiting for you to fail. Their opinions are completely irrelevant. And so if you look at that list, there's some 6'5" guys, there's some really athletic guys, there's some 6'1" guys, there's some not that athletic guys. So it can't be physical traits, right? And it can't be where they're from. It can't be their ethnicity. There's too many examples across the board. So I would say it's unwavering, self-generated confidence.
Okay, but can you have too much confidence to your detriment?
I don't think so. I think people ask me, where's the line between confidence and cocky? And I actually think cockiness isn't past confidence. It's its own thing over here, and it's actually insecurity. And so when guys are overly, and I play with some diva wide receivers, and this is a common conversation within NFL quarterback circles, where the really, really cocky guys, it's actually rooted in insecurity. It's the opposite of confidence. Now people can mischaracterize confidence. So for example, if somebody thinks that Joe Burrow's cocky, then I think that's a misinterpretation of his confidence. And that's up to people's subjective opinions. But with the great quarterbacks, and I've been around some of the greats in other sports too, the Kelly Slaters and the Tony Hawks and some of the, even just other sports, some of the top golfers in the world. My findings are that confidence is usually the common denominator in the great ones there too.
Okay, but why can't I use that for wide receivers? Why are they insecure, whereas a quarterback isn't, if they're both sharing the same cocky trait?
Well, I think I don't know that I would put some of these diva wide receivers and some of these quarterbacks in the same category. I think what you do at wide receiver and other positions is based so much more off of your athleticism and your athletic ability, which is why wide receivers who are great have a shorter window. Typically, running backs have a shorter window. It's not just the wear and tear; it's the reliance on their physical traits. Whereas a quarterback can get older, those physical traits can diminish, and then they can offset those deficiencies with the capability. So a Drew Brees can age and get slower, but be more clutch and be a better leader and be more decisive in situations. So I think you can offset as the physical traits diminish over time. I think you can offset that with other capabilities. Whereas a wideout, if you get slower but smarter, I don't know that you can still play at the same level.
How does a quarterback improve his arm strength once he gets to the NFL as opposed to high school or college?
Yeah, I think the way I would answer that is how would they improve arm strength? And I think it's the same answer for how would they improve accuracy. Look, your throwing motion, let's say that I work with a kid who's 14, and let's say that it's guaranteed that he's going to be playing 10 years in the NFL. Let's just say that's a thing, right? His throwing motion is going to evolve. And so there's a long list of examples, but pull up a clip of Aaron Rodgers throwing at Cal, pull up a clip of Aaron Rodgers throwing in the last decade. It looks like two different people, right? And so it's an evolution. And a lot of quarterbacks come to people like me to fix their mechanics. When I just don't see it that way, I see that your mechanics need to evolve. So specifically, one, how they use the ground. And I'll just answer this like, I get a lot of new college and NFL clients every year. What do they come to me for? And what do I spend time with them on? The first is how they use the ground. And that sounds kind of silly to a fan, but if you're not actually putting force on the ground the most effective and the most efficient way, then there's an opportunity to improve right there. How you transfer that force, how you your stride, how you get into your front side when your left hip opens, how it comes to a collision and stops, pulls your right hip through. So that's the biomechanics side of it. Velocity can increase there. Strengthening different parts of their body, not their pecs and their biceps, but their obliques, this throwing sling from their right shoulder to their left hip, getting that part of their body connected. And then right now, this time of year, we're going around doing training camp visits with guys who have bicep tendonitis, tricep tendonitis, their elbows bugging them a little bit, the back of their shoulders bugging them a little bit. And so now it's kind of, revising some of the things that we've worked on, and diving a little bit deeper and getting them to just use their body more. So the idea is that they don't use their arms so much.
He's Jordan Palmer, quarterback consultant. NFL and college quarterbacks launched a nutrition company for young athletes with developing bodies called Thread Performance, and 3 new products there. You can learn more at threadperformance.com. We may have 4 rookies starting at quarterback. Tom Brady came out recently and said, oh, my God, this is a tragedy that we're starting these rookie quarterbacks. I disagreed with Tom. I think that they're learning more. They're learning quicker. They're also older when they get to the NFL as well. Your thoughts, what Tom had to say, and is it a tragedy that we're dumbing things down so these quarterbacks can play?
Yeah, I don't see it as a tragedy at all. I agree with you. Look, the times have changed. I know you're close with my brother, and you guys are big fans of each other. And the guy was the number 1 pick in the draft and didn't play a snap his rookie year, and he was a healthy scratch because they basically wanted to redshirt him. And nowadays, if you don't start as a rookie after being drafted high, it's because of a very specific situation or because you're literally not ready. And teams aren't drafting guys that aren't ready. And so I look at it like this: the position has evolved so much, and a lot of this goes back to like 7-on-7 when they're kids.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not the only person to be talking about this, but there's so many reps. They've thrown so many back shoulder fades by the time they step foot on college campus, and they've seen the same so many coverages so many times by the time they step foot on a college campus. And colleges are running more sophisticated offenses than they used to. Even though it looks like spread and they may look to the sideline and there's pictures and whatever, they're running sophisticated. They're asking a lot of the quarterback in college. And I was at a training camp. I was in practice the other day with a big time college program, sitting in the quarterback meetings, and I'm continually blown away by what college offensive coordinators are asking their quarterbacks to do. And so that just makes for a more seamless transition into the NFL. And I don't know if you saw this, but Joe Burrow had a quote. Somebody asked him years ago, and I've heard him say it in private conversations too. How much harder is the jump from the SEC to the NFL? What are all the things that are harder? And he's not trying to be cool. He's just, I think the guy's incapable of BSing. And so he just honestly is like, I don't think it's harder. Because on offense, we have more answers, and we can be more in attack mode. We can have more adjustments and audibles and all these different things to attack those defenses. And so I just don't think the jump from college to pro is what it used to be, even though the NFL game continues to progress.
And we love to say this guy's the next guy. Caleb Williams is the next Patrick Mahomes. And I always say there's not another Patrick Mahomes. It'll be somebody who is different than Patrick. There's no next Larry Bird. There's no next Magic. We keep waiting for that, but we're not being fair to the person that we're watching, and that they can be their own person. Although Caleb Williams and Patrick Mahomes, we hear the similar play breaks down, they improvise, they're very similar. Give me the similarities between those two and what you've seen since you've been with both of these quarterbacks.
Well, I think any fan who watches college or pro can would probably answer it the same way I would. You would name the same things, right? Their mobility, their improvisation, those things. But I've got some things that I think Caleb is way ahead of Pat on. And I don't even know that these are arguable. When Pat entered the NFL, he never played in a big game. Did you ever watch Texas Tech play?
I watched them play against Oklahoma State one time.
Right.
Atlanta.
Yeah,
and I was
waiting on a plane. Yeah, because in between, right? But you weren't like hey guys,
Got to
listen
tune
up. We're
in.
all gonna
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and they never played in the Big 12 championship. They never, because the defense was terrible and whatever all the reasons were for Texas Tech. So he never played on a massive stage. Caleb Williams has played on a lot, including his first game ever coming off the bench for Spencer Rattler in the Red River shootout that we all remember, of a historic comeback and all these unbelievable. So if I were to list going into the NFL, if I were to rank who's played in more big games, it's 0 to a ton, whatever that is. Okay. The second is Pat. I don't think, and I'm one of the few people that watched all of Patrick's games in college. I even went to a couple. And so when you talk about entering the league, who has played more big games? It's not even close. And then second is, who's handled like the pressures and all the stuff that comes with being a franchise quarterback. Well, Pat wasn't that until his second year in the league, which means he never really dealt with all that pressure and stuff really till his third year in the league. Caleb was the number one recruit in the country, and everybody was saying, including myself, this is the best high school kid I've ever seen. And if you remember when Trevor Lawrence was drafted, Adidas's campaign was number one since day one, and it was very fitting. It was a great line. It's the same thing for Caleb. He was the Elite 11 MVP. I met him as a sophomore in high school. I said, this is the best kid I've ever seen, right? So going through high school, then going into college as a true freshman, and then having that second half of his true freshman year that he had, then transferring, being the face of like the new thing called the portal. The portal Caleb didn't create the portal, but he was the first blockbuster move, right? And so he's the face of college football. Then he wins the Heisman. So then he's got the whole offseason this last year, and he's in LA. Pat was in Lubbock. So it's like the exposure to what it takes to be a franchise quarterback, I would say also not even close. And then on the physical traits, I don't think it's arguable. I think Caleb is faster than Pat. I think he gets to full speed faster, and I think his full speed is faster. And so I'm not saying he's going to be better. I'm just saying there are a couple of traits here where I don't think you can argue Caleb is more set up for success entering the NFL than Pat was.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Talking to Jordan Palmer, former NFL quarterback. We were asking this today, if you could have CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons to start your team.
Ooh. I would want to know what CeeDee's like to work with, because superstar talented dude who's bought in and does all the right things is different than superstar talented dude who's
He
not.
caught 135 balls, Jordan. I got to start
aware.
there. I got to start there.
But if the part-time job is making sure that you show up and do the right things, there are guys who would say it's not worth it. Now, from what I hear, CeeDee's a great dude. So I'm a quarterback. I would take CeeDee, and I would build an offense around him. The only reason I would go Micah, though, is because I don't think having a superstar X is the only way to have a prolific offense. I do think that you can have a cast of 4 to 5 guys that play roles. And if you have an offensive coordinator, look at San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk, who, wants more money and all that stuff. Well, it's hard to pay Brandon Ayuk when your offense isn't designed to have a true number one and build off of him. And I played with Chad Ochocinco, so I'm aware of have your superstar X who commands double coverage at all times and then build the rest of your offense around him. But I have a lot of clients that have a lot of different ways of doing this. And so my argument for CeeDee is, yeah, he might be the guy I'd pick if I was building it around a wideout. But my argument against it would be more about, would I rather have somebody who's going to get off the field on third down and build an offense of role players?
Okay. I know you didn't work out Dak Prescott. Tell me exactly what you see when you see him, because he's going to get $60 million here pretty soon.
Yeah, I think that he's the right place, the right time for the way his career's gone. And it's so hard because it's the Cowboys. They're so polarizing. It's so hard to figure out, is Dak why they're not making it further in the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl? Or is it other being Jerry, other being personnel, all that, right? Because he had such a hot start to his college career. He's been so consistent. I think he's only had really one injury when he busted his ankle really bad. So it's not like he's, in and out of the lineup all the time. And then I've heard other people like Colin Cowherd make this point, and I thought it was a good point, that not every quarterback can have that star on their helmet. Being the Cowboys quarterbacks, like being a Laker, it's being a Yankee, and he's handled, I think, that as well as you can handle that. The media, the scrutiny, the ups, the downs, all that. And so I think there's so many things that he's done that not all the other good quarterbacks can do in this NFL, doing that in Dallas. But I just think it's hard to pay somebody a max contract, even though we've seen it time and time again, right? With these last couple of quarterbacks getting paid. Somebody hasn't proven that they're the reason that we're good, and they're definitely not the reason that we're not getting further, right? So Joe Burrow, for example, signed a big deal. He's clearly the reason that the Bengals are a big reason that the Bengals are in contention. And when he's out, or when he's not, before he was there, it's clear that without him, they're not. And so I just think with Dallas, because they have other stars too, that's the only part where I go, jury's out, and I don't know. And it would be hard for me to make somebody in that position the highest paid player in the league.
Great stuff as always, Jordan. We appreciate your time. We wish you well with Thread Performance. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's Jordan Palmer, quarterback consultant to NFL and college quarterbacks, and the nutrition company for young athletes, developing bodies, called Thread Performance. Learn more at threadperformance.com. Take a break. Last call for phone calls. What we learned, what's in store tomorrow, right after this.